Joining us to have this conversation is the youth advocate, convener of social rehabilitation, grace and support initiative, Dr. Charles Marindoti. Good morning, Dr. Marindoti. Thank you for joining us on the show. We've seen several arguments for and against the protest. Which side of the divide are you on? What do you support? Are you for the protest, against the protest, or for the protest with the guidelines?
Well, yeah, definitely there should be guidelines to every protest. Everybody knows this, that when a baby that cannot speak for itself is hungry, they just start to cry, and you can't tell them not to cry. You have to give them food. So, and hunger has precipitated this protest, which is unfortunate, which I feel could have been prevented. But, at this point, I am definitely for the protest. But everybody has to follow a guideline. You have to understand that your right to swing your fist ends where my nose starts. So, they should follow the guidelines. I don't think that it is standard practice anywhere in the world that you can obstruct main traffic, because people might have children and wives who need a surgery that, is about to have a delivery. They want to take to the hospital, fathers with a heart attack, babies with, terrible case of malaria or whatever. So they shouldn't block the roads. But protest is the right of every Nigerian. And I am in support of this particular protest, because this is a protest for survival. And, we cannot deny the fact, I'm not in Nigeria, but I can't deny the fact that, there is hunger in the land. I hear the price of food every day. And so I guess, like you said, I'm for the protest. I am a supporter of this administration. I supported this president, but I am for this protest because I think the administration has found a way to get itself here by not taking some proactive measures. And this thing has nothing to do with their economic policies, because I think those economic policies are good, but there were some measures that needed to have been taken to prevent this protest. They always use the example of a surgery being painful. Yes, a surgery is painful, but if you can put yourself in the position of a patient, if a surgeon should put its knife on you without potent anesthesia and adequate analgesia, you are going to punch that surgeon in the face. That was a sad experience I had to learn when I was a first-year medical doctor, when my anesthetic skill was still very, very poor. And that is what is happening right now, because I've been on this program, I've had this conversation with both of you about food, about letting food to come in. When we have 75, they just took it out right now, even though I've been clamoring for it for over a year, since 7 days after the president got into office. When you have 75% import duty on rice, and 85% on wheat, and 75% on sugar, and maybe about 75% on milk products, and then bread is expensive, rice is expensive, and there's shortage, which is also worsening it, because it's not like there's so much demand. Nigerians are poor. It's not like our food demand is what it ought to be. But despite this low demand, the supply is so short because of, insecurity, every other thing. We are not producing food, and we have decided not to let food in. So people are hungry, they are about to revolt. Now, a flood is coming. You can't stop the flood, but you can channel the water, which is what I am hoping that this administration,
All right. Dr. Marindoti, can you hear us now? I'd like to interrupt you for a bit. At the beginning, I think your first statement was about how, you did say that protests, is the right of Nigerians, but you mentioned that no protest should be without guidelines. This statement, is it in reference to this particular protest, or do you mean protests in general? Is that, from what you have gathered, is that how it has been regarding all the different protests that are happening or that have happened in Nigeria? And what do you say to those who are protesting against a protest happening?
I think it's unnecessary. And sometimes I will be honest with you, I think protest against protest in Nigeria, based on my own pulse of the situation, is either by people who are directly affiliated with the administration, or maybe sometimes sponsored. There was a picture I just saw of someone with the shirt and a few money that I was counting. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But when you're talking about protest, this should be the guidelines of protest everywhere in the world, whereby people need to, the people in charge of the security need to channel the protests, let people know the alternative routes and everything. It needs to be planned. I didn't really like the antagonistic, position of some members of the administration to this protest, and I was happy that, at least I think a jury came out a few days ago and said everybody has the right to protest and they should go out and protest because it is the right of all Nigerians. But like I said, protest has to have all protests, not I don't know the specific guidelines. Maybe I shouldn't say that because I don't know the specific guidelines that the IGP was talking about. I haven't read through it, but there are guidelines definitely that people should, have a route of protest. People who want to go about their normal day activities should be able to go there. You guys should not be prevented from coming to anchor this show, on August 2nd or August 1st, just because there's a protest blocking your way because you will want to come, so, and that does not mean you are not in support of the protest. You might finish your program and go back out and join it. So it should be coordinated because for the love of Nigeria, we don't want anybody to die needlessly. We don't want anarchy to occur, but I am not so optimistic about it because I have seen the way Nigerian police handle protesters. They are not adequately trained in managing all of these things. And so I am really, really worried. Some of the responses that I've been hearing about, they've been going out packing tires as if tires are the only thing that can be burnt, or as if the places that they park tires to cannot be attacked and then they get easy access to it, So and this is one of the reasons why I have been warning against this thing, especially hunger, severally, which is what has precipitated it now. But I feel like this is also an opportunity for the administration to come out and rise up to the occasions. Good leaders, the greatest leaders that we talk about historically, it's not like they were a bunch of geniuses. They were people who lived during difficult times and led effectively through it. So I feel like the government, the president, and the presidency in general can come out and own these moments. And if people are saying, and this is my own suggestion to the administration, if people are saying they want an end to bad governance, acknowledge it, yes, and give them an end to a bad governance structure, which is what I think is responsible for for all the things going on in Nigeria right now. Give them an end to bad governance structure and engage them and work with them. You cannot stop this protest. People are hungry and hunger is real.
Hold on,
So,
Dr. Mangas, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah. So I want to, ask, Mr. President still hasn't. We've heard conflicting statements. Bayo Nonigo is saying one thing. The IG of police initially said that the protest was sponsored by foreign mercenaries. A jury is saying another thing. The governors are saying, hold on. The imams are saying, it's just conflicting statements, across the country. But we haven't heard from the person who won the election, who was declared winner, and that is President Bola Tinubu. So I want your thoughts on what you expect Mr. President to be saying in this time. And if you believe that Mr. President has the right words to convince Nigerians that there is no need for a protest and that Nigerians are in safe hands.
The president is not known for his oratory skills. To me, in my own opinion, I think he's more of a thinker than a talker. So the president needs to definitely come out and address the nation. He has been making a lot of strategic moves, meeting with these groups and everything. But the world has changed since the advent of the development of the radio technology. Now, back in the days, it used to be that monarchs don't talk to their subjects. As a matter of fact, it was a thing of shame to be seen, for a monarch to be seen talking in public. But ever since, and if you've watched the King's Speech and all of that, monarchs since the Second World War and all leaders have had to talk to their subjects. And this is the information age. The president definitely needs to address Nigerians. And I'm thinking maybe this will happen once the protest starts and all of that, maybe to calm some nerves and all of that.
Why when the protest starts? If he's heard about the possibility of a protest for the last couple of weeks, why do you think Mr. President is waiting for the protest to start first before addressing Nigerian citizens? And again, you might argue that he's not known for his oratory skills, which is very different from what was said in the build-up to the elections. But what would you expect Mr. President to say? And do you even think that he has the right words at this time to convince Nigerians? Because the argument is the reason that he hasn't communicated is either because he has poor communication skills, he doesn't have enough, advisors who would let him know what to say and how to say it, or there's really nothing that new that they have to say. that Nigerians would believe. So what would you expect Mr. President to say now? And do you believe that he truly has what to say to Nigerians to convince them against the protest?
Well, personally, I don't know the president personally, but what I can say
Oh,
is
you
that
campaigned for him. I mean,
yeah,
you believed in him well enough to campaign
for
for him. So
yeah, I campaigned for him and I support his policies, and that is why I was more about preventing this. Because I mean, think about it. This was one of the things why I was pissed off in February when the president was saying we should extricate ourselves from foreign food in February 15 of this year. This is the president that won the election with 36.6% of the vote. That means his enemies are essentially 2-1. So everything needed to have been done to prevent this what's called protest from happening. Right now that is happening, I don't know what the president is going to say that people even want to hear. Because it is all about building trust with the people. And personally, I must say this. I think one of the first conversations we had on this program, was about the subsidy removal. And I saw Joe Ajero talk about the president telling him, if you allow me raise the fuel price, then I can pay you 250. This shows that subsidy has not been removed. And if subsidy has not been removed, but the administration is not saying it, then that creates a trust deficit. And I don't understand the logic, because part of the reason why the people are going on the streets right now is because they say the president has removed subsidy on fuel, but the subsidy on fuel has not been removed. If you look at the change in the exchange rate reality and the change in the price of fuel, you can do the regression analysis, the perfect one, that's the R square. You can just multiply it by 3 and you see that it's essentially the same thing. So we are still paying subsidy.
In quick summary.
So this crisis.
Yeah, in quick summary, we apologize, because of time. So in quick summary.
Okay, so
you don't believe in, the way that the government has so far handled Nigeria's economy so far. You don't think that they've done the right things. Do you still believe that President Bola Tinubu knows what he is doing with a country as big as Nigeria and knows where he's taking us?
I differ with you on that point. I believe the president knows what he's doing about the economy. I believe the communication about what was being done about the economy was defective, and that is the reason why we are here right now. Because some Nigerians, the only thing that is happening is the removal of subsidy on dollar. And that's what has led to the increase in government revenue, and that's what's causing a lot of the increase in prices. But what should have been done initially is what is just being done like maybe a few weeks ago, which is the removal of those government-imposed punitive import duties on food when we don't have enough food in Nigeria. If that had been done, Nigerians would have had a little bit of leaves in terms of being able to buy food, feed themselves, and then the government policies that needed time to materialize would have materialized. I am still in support of all these policies. I just feel like the policy communication has been a little bit defective, and then now Nigerians are angry and they're about to take to the streets, and the government needs to efficiently manage this protest without any form of confrontation while protecting lives and properties. But without any form of confrontation, because someone that you want to roast should not rub oil on his skin. The president was a private citizen during EndSARS, and he was blamed for calling the protest and shooting people at the protest. Now that is the president, it is going to be easy to blackmail him, and which was what I was fearing.
It's not blackmail,
and that's why I'm hoping they manage this protest properly.
Yeah, I don't know if you can call it blackmail, because it's really just stating facts. He did support the Occupy Nigeria protest, which was less than a year after Goodluck Jonathan got into office. So if anyone mentions that, it's not blackmailing the president, it's just stating facts.
And just to mention that we of course know that the president has said that, has affirmed again that protesting is the right of Nigerians, right? But what we're saying is the body language that he has communicated so far indicative of the fact that he feels the pulse of the people. We're not talking about speaking through some media, it's speaking one-on-one to the Nigerians, speaking from the heart and letting Nigerians know that he sees and understands why they feel this level of agitation, and maybe give us an insight into what steps he's taking, maybe something to just calm the fears. We saw that happen in Kenya. Eventually, when William Ruto had to speak to them via his space on X, things had gotten out of hand, lives had been lost. So it's the body language, and maybe you can speak to that in 20 seconds.
Yeah, I feel like the president definitely needs to talk to Nigeria, and he will have to talk to Nigeria at one point. I would have said, be proactive, lead from the front. Be proactive about talking to Nigeria. I understand when you talk about the body language. I believe the president, cares about the Nigerian people. I believe he understands, but I feel like, there was a bit of a communication gap, and there were some actions that were delayed. So yeah, the body language, body language is
Yes.
subjective, definitely.
So you want people to protest, but at the same time, you believe in Mr. President. You think that is just a communication gap here and there, but you are fully in support of protesting because people are hungry. That's what we're saying.
Yes, I am fully in support of protesting because people are hungry. I just want it to be peaceful. You can't stop the protest, but you can ensure it is peaceful and work with the protesters. Start this restructuring thing, have the conversations with them, and let us end this protest and move Nigeria forward. We can always take advantage of a terrible, situation.
All right, Dr. Marindoti, always interested in speaking with you. Thanks for joining us this morning. We'll see you again.
Thank you very much.